out the intro too much.
Here we are. We are on.
We're
going to start promptly in 10 minutes. Mike.
Yeah.
So, hey, everybody. I'm looking at the camera for a change here.
Good.
Hey, everybody. We're just getting the ball rolling here. So, give us a minute or two, and we're just going to get our slide deck queued up.
Got a coffee here.
Say hello in the chat room. I've got a secondary computer here where I'm monitoring things. And I already see Christine and Dawn. Awesome. Yeah, Dawn is online. And we got Sylvia in the UK. We got Jeremy in France.
You make it sound like romper room.
I know.
I see Jeremy,
and I see Eric. We see Quebec Eric. Awesome. Fantastic, guys. So we're just going to get the ball rolling promptly at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in Toronto.
Eastern Standard Time, which is 8 minutes from now.
So bear with me. I'm going to find
9 minutes from now.
There we go. Find our slides here. Right. So maybe just for the people who are about to come online, I am going to share the slide deck so they see that. And then we'll chat in the chat room.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we will. All right. We're going to have an awesome time. You guys are going to learn a lot. So make sure you have pen, paper. Turn the ringer off on your phone so that you're not distracted.
I did.
You haven't eaten turkey yet if you're in the United States. It's
no,
Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving
the United States.
American listeners.
Yeah, we have our Thanksgiving in October for those of you who are
As
not aware.
You should.
Harris is online.
Hey, Harris.
Excellent. So people are just flooding in. I'm always confused by what it means by in the chat room. It says so many people listening, listening like we're anyway. I think that's really just a function of logged in people. There's a whole bunch more than that are not logged in, which is always cool. So you should be able to comment as a guest, or you should be able to register using the live fire chat feature below. Let us know. Well, I guess you won't be able to let us know if you have a problem.
Let it snow, it sounds like.
Let it snow. It is Christmas, almost. My daughter was hypnotized at the ENE a few years ago. I wasn't there, but I heard it was unbelievable. A statement from Marcia. Now, Marcia, when you say hypnotized, I don't know what the ENE is.
No, I don't either.
Maybe she means CNE.
Oh, maybe.
Which would have been the Toronto event that at the time probably you were doing those shows.
Very well possible.
Let us know. Let us know. CNE. There you go. Okay. Thank you. So, yeah, that probably would have been you, Mike.
Well, a few years ago would.
So, how many years in a row did you do the Canadian National Exhibition?
6. 18 or 19 days in a row for 6 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we got Kim, Mega Big Kim here. Mega Baby Kim.
Very good.
Awesome. Okay, we're just about to get
Kim,
rolling.
I owe you an email. I will get back to you interfrastically. I'll have more time over the next few days. Chris and I have been as busy as two very busy men living in Busyland.
Busyland, yes.
Yes.
Like bees. All right. So who else? Yeah, we got awesome. This is fantastic. So we did this webinar about a month ago, and the feedback was just phenomenal. We decided we had to do it again. It just makes so much sense to get out there and share some of this stuff because it's phenomenal. And for those of you who are just coming online now, if you're not familiar with us, make sure you write down the word brain software, the words brain software podcast, and go to iTunes and subscribe to it. You will love it.
Free. There's over 50 podcasts there with potentially life-changing material, and we're still rated 5 stars after a couple of years. I think you'll really enjoy it.
What do you mean by potentially life-changing?
If people apply it.
I know, I'm just kidding.
All right.
And hello to Cindy in the UK, and Lisa in the UK, Somerset, UK, and Billy in Denmark. Amazing.
Nice. Good to hear from you.
We are, notice you're not seeing a ton of people from the United States because we do admit, but it's okay because we admit it, that we didn't realize we'd actually scheduled this on Thanksgiving Day for the United States folks. So we are,
but we are webinaring to the planet. So
yeah, so it was nice of somebody to point out to me that
we cannot possibly take every national holiday into consideration.
That's just too complicated.
Yeah, I know.
Just kidding.
How long, Christopher, before we actually... Okay, we got 6 minutes to go. We'll be live soon.
Yeah, we're just going to chit-chat until the actual start time. We said we'd start promptly. We're certainly going to do that, but we don't want to jump into the material any earlier than necessary.
Right.
So why don't we talk about last night before we get started? Because we had it. So for those of you on early enough to generate a little extra humor out of this in your life, we were at the pub after our usual Wednesday night jiu-jitsu class where Mike and I and Adam teach the class. And our friend, Paul, was about to pay his bill.
We won't say his last name.
No, we won't.
Right.
But we won't say his last name. So why don't you tell the story, Mike? Because it's so funny.
Sometimes I'll just have to, interject with people's lives with these weird hypnotic things. We're sitting around a fairly long table, about 8 of us, and Paul's about to pay his bill, and there's 4 other students at the table just behind us. And the waitress had walked away, and Paul, had he actually paid the bill at that point? He had.
No, he had not paid it.
He was about to pay his bill.
He was about to pay his bill.
And I just looked across the room like there's some mock concern. I looked past Paul, and I said, "Did she ever give you your credit card back?" That was it. That was all it took.
Now, what had happened before that? He had been a bit flustered, or
talking about like different things that were flustering.
He had
him.
taken his credit card out to pay his bill. He'd put it down on the table. Then at some point, he put it back in his. He put it back in his wallet. Credit card back in his wallet and put it in his pocket. And I gave it a 5-second beat and said, "Did she ever give you your credit card back?" And he went, "No, she hasn't even shown up with it yet." So he's looking across there. It's just completely fooled him. And he starts the usual, accusing me of having his credit card. He accuses Chris. Because we typically steal each other's wallets and things because we act like we're 5 years old. And he can't. Oh, we haven't started yet for those of you tuning in now. Yeah, if you're tuning in, we're just
preamble. So anyway, it kept going for several minutes. He said, "Do you have my card?" I said, no, I do not. "Do you know where it is?" I said, "I do." "Did you see who took it?" And I said, "I honestly did not see who took your card because nobody had
taken it. So you can honestly say that.
The humor of it is, at some point, he opened his wallet and saw the credit card in his wallet and convinced himself that his wallet had been empty and I had somehow gotten the credit card back into his wallet.
He actually thinks that you hypnotized him somehow.
Briefly,
put it back in his wallet.
In his wallet, yeah. And the only thing was, I just said, "Did she ever give your credit card back?"
It was the concerned look as well.
Away from him.
Did she ever give you your card back?
And he just immediately panics. And he doesn't even look that it's in his freaking wallet.
So hilarious.
I love this stuff.
Hey, we got Rob from Oregon. We got Frank from Ireland, Cork, Ireland, which is awesome. You love Ireland.
It's in Cork?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Cork. I couldn't understand a word anyone said to me there. They do not talk to you in Cork. They sing at you. Everyone has these most beautiful melodic voices. Frank, head down to the English market and say hi to them for me. I had one of the best lunches there.
That's awesome. All right, we are starting in 3 minutes.
3 minutes and counting.
Minutes.
Ready to provide some real tools for the working human being.
So those people who have asked on prior emails that I've exchanged emails with you, how long is this going to take? Plan about 60-ish, 90 minutes at the absolute most. It'll probably be closer to 60. We're going to go through a lot of content, and then we're going to go through Q&A.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome.
Bring on the Q&A afterwards, but
oh yeah,
don't expect to get everything from this. Find a couple of things that resonate with you
use them.
And use them.
Use them in your life.
And just have a better life. You'll have a blast with this stuff.
Ryan from Washington, D.C. is on. Good to see you, man. Well, virtually.
Ryan's going to be coming back at some point doing his master hypnotist course with us.
Absolutely.
Toronto.
We will see you in May in Toronto, Ryan.
We will.
It's going to be fun. Aloha, Nadine
from
online, which is awesome.
Amazing.
So are you actually in Hawaii right now, Nadine?
And if so,
I imagine she is, because why would you choose to be here when it's like,
well, this is it.
I always joke about it being minus infinity because I find it somehow humorous as a science geek to suggest that temperatures could fall below absolute zero.
You've already said that.
Yes. I don't remember where I said
minus 276 Kelvin?
No, 276. I think it is, or something like that. Point something. Yeah. I can't remember. Kelvin, right? I did my degree too long ago.
Too long ago to care. No. Chris, we are moving up to 2 minutes before we start, everybody.
2 minutes. 2 minute warning.
Hang in there. We're just letting everybody get online. Those of you who are just turkeying off somewhere and ready to come and join us.
Yes, they are. And can you see my wonderful chalkboard behind us that I have, where our heads are blocking the hypnotic communication webinar?
I'm about to crack my neck, so if you can hear it.
Okay, you go ahead.
Oh, I missed it.
Horrible.
Oh, it won't go. Oh, I shouldn't have done that last one. If I have a stroke and start going like this, it's not a joke. So if I start having a microstroke,
it's okay. He doesn't need any help.
He's waving. He's waving us off. He doesn't need any help. Yeah.
And we've got our Christmas mugs. My wife took these Christmas mugs.
Oh, how nice.
Always at this time of year, of course, right?
Yes, Christopher. 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. Last minute of play. This preamble break.
Sounds like a hockey game now, Mike.
It does.
All right. I will make sure our slides are queued up. And we are about to begin. Wow, this is awesome. Yup, she says back in the snow in Canada.
Uh-oh.
Heading back soon. Brought the sun with me when I returned. Yes. The weather in Hawaii, I somehow think would be fantastic compared to here right now. But I have snow tires on my car. All is good, right?
All is well, Chris.
All right. Why don't we begin? It is
It's
now
2 o'clock.
officially, according to the atomic clock,
That's right.
2 o'clock.
Let us begin.
So we are going to begin. So welcome, everybody. I'm going to just bring up the first slide, and then we're going to have some fun. So let's do it. So hi, everyone. Okay, here's the slide. Welcome, everybody. Oh, it says we're about to get started. Well, we've done that.
We've done that part.
Well, it's wrong because we have started. All right, so welcome, everyone. I'm going to say that
for the last time.
How many times do you think I could possibly welcome
Too many.
you? I want to just give you the agenda here. So I'm going to introduce Mike to you. Then we're going to cover a whole lot of really good quality material. And then we're going to conduct a Q&A session. And I do also want to make sure that you understand that towards the end, we will talk about the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, which is our online hypnosis training, which we believe is the absolute best online training in the world. That said, this presentation is not a sales pitch. This presentation is to help you gain some real tools that you can use in your life. The vast majority of the conversation here will be teaching, and then we will make you an offer that a lot of you are going to be interested in, but there's absolutely no pressure. So that's the agenda. Let's get to it. Welcome. No, just kidding. I want to introduce to you Mike Mandel, one of my best friends in the world and 6-time award-winning hypnotist. There's a picture of you, I believe, at cottage season last year or
no,
something.
it was in Newfoundland shooting the haunted lighthouses documentary.
So this is a fairly recent photo of
it
Mike,
was
of course.
2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Right. And so now,
here's
to give you the introduction on Mike, he has about 50 years experience of doing hypnosis. That, of course, includes non-professional 10 years or so when you were from the age of like 12 to, I think, 21 is when you started professionally. In that time, he has done about 5,000 live stage show, obviously live because you don't work with dead people, hypnosis stage shows. But beyond that, he's done a lot of other things. But 5,000 stage shows, that's where people who have seen him tend to have seen him work on stage. Obviously, people, unless you're his clients, haven't seen him work in private with
including
clients.
With that unfortunate sweater and hairstyle.
Yes.
If you can call it that, back circa 1975, 76 on the left-hand side of the screen.
And what is it that you told me when I first saw that picture? I think you showed that picture to me about 2 years ago, and you said the horrendous thing is not only did I choose that sweater, but I obviously looked in the mirror.
I looked in the mirror and must have gone,
oh, I look great. Yeah,
it looks okay to me.
Looks okay
to me. What didn't I pick?
Right.
You know, like, oh, horrible.
And then, of course, we have the middle picture, which has the token pendulum, because every hypnosis photo has to have a spiral or a pendulum or some guy who looks like he's casting rays out of his hands
or eyes,
which is our biggest pet peeve.
That's about 15 years ago, I suspect.
Yes. Yeah. And then we have, most recently, this is from September
this year.
This year, an audience of how many people?
6,000. Over 6,000.
6,000 people at Western
University for the 40th year in a row.
Right. One of Ontario's top universities.
Yeah. So it's my 40th year performing in that same venue. We still wow the kids and have a blast with it.
Amazing. Very cool stuff. So Mike has, beyond stage shows, vast hypnosis experience. Forensic hypnosis, helping with police investigations. Police lecturer and trainer has been one of his roles. He's the creator of mindscaping, art gallery, lensing, and a bunch of other therapeutic techniques
that are used by therapists worldwide.
And he was, as Neil Strauss put it, deemed hands down the greatest speaker, presenter, and educator on hypnosis and NLP I've seen. Neil Strauss, for those of you not familiar, is the New York Times best-selling author of several books, including The Game, which is a very famous book and actually quite worth reading, quite educational. And so that's what he had to say about you, Mike. So let me turn it over to you. This is our token picture of the audience now cheering, saying, "Yes, bring him on."
And that's not Photoshop.
No, that's from your.
Like. That's the view iPhone. From the stage from my iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your. And I think you told everybody I'm going to be tweeting this photo or something, so they're all cheering like it's
they were great kids.
The beginning of an AC/DC concert. So let me turn it over to you, Mike, and it's time for you to tell your story.
Well, Chris, I came to Canada from England with my parents, and as a young kid, grew up in Toronto, and was a bright kid, had some rough times because I was a very small kid. So I was consistently bullied by some of the worst kids in school, and being very, very small, I learned verbal skills to defend myself. I mastered the fine art of sarcasm, and put downs and so on, which got me into more trouble a lot of the time. But I was very interested in the mind. I was interested in mentalism and magic and all of these things. And when I was 12 years old, my father was concerned I wasn't reading enough. He took me to a bookstore in Toronto, which isn't there anymore. The city is, the bookstore isn't. And he said any book I wanted I could have. And he gave me a book called The Key to Hypnotism, which I picked out by Walter Gibson. Yeah, I still do one of Walter Gibson's inductions to this day. And I learned the stuff in this book at age 12. And I went next door. And my friend Wayne Gibbs, who lived above McLean's Animal Hospital with his brother Max, where their father was a veterinary technician. They had an apartment there. I went over and said, can I put you guys in a hypnotic trance? And they said, yeah, sure. They're little kids. They haven't got a clue what I mean. And I was not able to hypnotize Max, but Wayne, the elder brother, who must have been 10 at the time, not only did I hypnotize him, but I caused his hand to become cataleptic and rigid and ice cold and numb. It took all the feeling away. And I tested it by sticking an unfortunately unsterilized pin into his fingertips, which are extremely sensitive. And he didn't react, and they barely even bled. And his mom wasn't too thrilled with this, but my parents didn't really care as much as his mom did. And Wayne didn't feel any pain whatsoever. And I was astounded by this. And that was age 12. It caused this glove anesthesia, as we call it, with this friend. And the wonder of it is, there's the picture of Wayne and I together. We reconnected 40 plus years later. I hadn't seen him in all that time, and I managed to find him. And he said, oh, I remember you used to hypnotize me and stick pins in my fingers.
What do you do now?
What do you do for a living? I said, funny you should ask. He said, you were technically patient 0 and all those years ago. And so that got me fascinated by hypnosis, Chris. And I got into stage hypnotism at age 21 in January 29th, 1975, when I realized I just didn't enjoy traditional jobs. I worked at Bell Canada at the time. I was a telephone operator, worked with 150 women, which was freaking awesome. Only guy. And was doing hypnosis on friends just on the side for something to do, and card magic and mentalism and so on. And then a friend of mine was a booking agent. He said, I can get you a gig somewhere. And he booked me in Western Canada on a talk show. And that was the start. And I had such a blast. I came back and quit my job and began full-time hypnosis January 29th, 1975, and I've never looked back.
All right, so I'll switch back to the camera here in a second, but I want to bring up the last point on this slide, which is in the beginning, in 1975, you were doing stage shows, mostly very successfully.
Yeah.
You did not understand the structure of hypnosis.
Didn't have a clue.
And the structure of the communication that's involved.
Right.
And what happened? Like, what were some of the experiences you had as a result of that?
Well, because I didn't have a teacher, I just purchased a couple of books.
Yes.
Mostly one. I had to develop my own techniques, and I developed a method of doing hypnotic induction, but I had no idea why it worked. And then Palmerston, Ontario, in 1975, about maybe 6 gigs in, had 25, 30 people on stage, and on the count of 3, your hand will lock together and will not pull apart. Now, at this point, I'd not differentiated between what was the window dressing, the showmanship, and what was essential. And I left out some essential stuff thinking it was showmanship.
Right.
And 25, 30 people, all of them went and looked at me, and all their hands came apart.
Now, for the context, for those who haven't necessarily
seen a
stage show,
like
this was part of suggestibility testing in the beginning of his show.
Didn't work.
He's giving them instructions that their hands are locked. You can't open your hands. No matter how hard you try, you can't open your hands.
Except
and
they all
and the rest of the night was a
horrible
blur.
blank. Yeah, I don't go there. So, I mean, I could have quit at that point, but I didn't. I stayed with it. And
which is a lesson in and of itself, because if you had quit then, how would your life be now?
Horrific compared to how much fun it is now. So, but anyway, I got back in the saddle and kept doing hypnosis, and the shows got better and better. And I did a lot of universities and colleges, and branched out into all these other areas as a corporate speaker and a wine writer and a martial arts instructor, and all the things you know me for, Chris.
Yes.
But hypnosis, I have lived, eaten, and breathed it since 1975 full time.
All right, so let me go back to the slides here, and now we had a question, by the way, while I'm switching. Doc is asking, is this live? Yes, absolutely, it's live.
We are live.
Why did you have to press the play button? Simply because we're using Google's Google Hangouts to host this, and so the way that it works is when you load the page, if we hadn't started broadcasting yet, you have to hit the play button to just get it going, and then it's live. And of course, the replay will be available here as well. So you didn't realize the structure. It opened up an awesome life. Now let's talk about learning. So standing on the shoulders of giants, what does that mean?
Chris, I've been an autodidact forever. I've always taught myself things I've wanted to learn, and I've been blessed with an ability to learn things very, very rapidly and in considerable depth. And so I immersed myself in hypnosis and mentalism and magic and so on. But I had some of the best teachers in the world. I had a mentor, Derek Balmer at NLP Canada, who was a Cambridge linguist, and another great trainer was Chris Dunkley, who was another British NLP trainer, neurolinguistic programming, teaching me neurology and psychology and how to affect them through language. and John Grinder, the co-founder of NLP, and a lot of great teachers. One of the best being my grade 6 teacher, Donald Thane, who was the most awesome teacher I've ever met. He's no longer alive, and he instilled in all of us a desire to learn. And curiosity. And so I had great teachers. I stand on the shoulders of giants, as I said. I don't take credit for the things I've done. I've just studied with the very best people in the world.
Right. And of course, I was lucky enough to then meet you back in, I think, around 1992 or 93.
Carleton University,
and
Ottawa.
Look where it's taken me. I'm now hanging out with you on a daily basis, and I've learned so much from you because you've had that opportunity to learn from others. I'm now learning from you. And everyone here online has an opportunity to learn from this guy, and it's just remarkable. So let's keep going.
Well, then I started speaking. I started doing corporate speaking.
Right.
And the way this happened, Chris, was I was doing all these shows at high schools and fundraisers and all kinds of things, and it was a lot of fun. But I was traveling a lot and flying a lot, and I used to tour England and Australia every year. I mean, it got kind of exhausting. And a lot of other people were coming to the hypnosis market, and some of them have very poor skills. But to the average person, all they remembered was, oh, he made my brother think he was pregnant. It's hilarious. And I say, didn't seem to be a lot of discernment as to quality. And I kept thinking, well, I'm a hypnotist. I'm a stage hypnotist. And then one day I read Marilyn Vosavant's book, Brain Building, and I reframed the whole thing. I thought, wait a minute, I'm not a hypnotist. That's one thing I do. I'm a communicator. I'm first and foremost a communicator. And hypnosis is one part of it. And then I began to realize these skills I was using hypnotically would map across into daily life, into influence, and transforming people just by talking to them. And everything got way more interesting at that point.
And that is why the audience that tends to come to our live trainings, listen to our podcasts, come to these kinds of webinars, aren't necessarily people who are in practice as therapists or anything like that.
Right.
Sometimes
stage
they're
hypnotists,
salespeople. They're just professionals who want to do a better job of musicians who want to do more creative composing.
Yeah, everything.
All sorts. Because communication is in every way a part of your life. I mean, unless you live with no one else around you and you do not communicate, like I don't know.
Well, even that's communicating. It's communicating.
With
you don't
yourself.
want to be bothered, right?
Yeah, or if you're, I mean, at the very least, you're communicating with yourself at all times. And we're going to be getting to some tools that you can use on yourself, which are very important here. But the point here is hypnosis started as a skill that was used for entertainment purposes and then turned itself into a skill for you that was used to help yourself, help others, and do all kinds of amazing things.
Then I was a full-time therapist and worked with really difficult cases and flew to Australia to help a multimillionaire rock star from a band you probably have heard of. And all of these things, we had really fast modalities that could change people really quickly, and developed a lot of these and started to see people get transformed.
Right. And this is why we call the webinar Hypnotic Communication, not Hypnosis.
Correct.
Because we're not going to teach you how to induce trance in people.
Yeah.
We're going to give you tools that are communication tools that are going to be useful in every aspect of your life, therapist or not. So let me move back to the slides because I think we have to go to the next one.
All right.
Next one is, all right, so let's start with this concept. Let me just share the screen here. I think I need like a
secretary.
Yeah, I need somebody to control the screen for me. All right. You are already a hypnotist.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
You just might not be a very good one yet.
Right.
What do we mean by that, Mike?
When we communicate with people, we are eliciting internal shifts just by conversation. I think it was Dr. Stephen Gilligan who said it is impossible to make a statement without
it is impossible to not communicate.
No, he said
something like that.
Every sentence has implications.
Okay.
And it's impossible to make a statement without implications. And what that means is, beyond what you say, the superficial meaning of your sentences, you're affecting people inside.
With your
You're
words.
transforming them with your words. And the example I love to give is we used to have a cottage at Hikes Island on the Trent River, which is very deep. And I'd go up there fishing. My parents would go up, and we had to go across in a boat, a small 10 horsepower motor powering this little fiberglass boat. And we'd cross often late in the year. There was an oil stove there, and it would be cold and windy, and we'd fight our way across against the wind and unload all the stuff from this boat, and tie the boat up and drag everything into the freezing cold cottage, because this is Canada, the Great White North. We'd get the oil stove going, and you could smell the oil in the air, and then the warmth would come in, and we'd make tea or coffee, gradually warm up. Now, everyone listening has a different representation of what I've just said. None of you is seeing the actual trip or my actual cottage, but you're creating an internal representation based on the words that I'm giving you. I'm causing that shift in your state by the way I'm describing what happened.
And just the same thing would happen if I was to, say, show up at an office with a bunch of colleagues and something happened to me that morning on the subway ride in, let's say, and I'm in an awful mood and Bill comes up to me and says, "What's wrong?" And I say, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what happened." And I start relaying the story. Well, guess what? He's got to make mental pictures and he's got to have feelings. He's got to internalize
He's going to
what I'm
respond to
saying.
what you're saying.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And of course, watching movies is another good example of hypnosis.
Watching movies
all
put
the
you in
time.
trance. Watching television puts you in a trance as well.
Watching a great speech.
Listening to a great speech, reading a good novel.
Mhm.
If I read a good novel, guess what? The words disappear off the page and I start seeing the characters. I get a sense of what they look like, how they're interacting and so on. It's all hypnosis.
In fact, being a good storyteller, and I don't mean fairy tale type stories, but being a good having the skill of delivering a powerful story.
Being a raconteur is what he's attempting to say.
Is a very hypnotic skill.
Well, back in ancient times, the wise women of the tribes and the medicine men, the shamans, they would sit around the fire, and that was the communal place. And the stories would be told that brought up the history of the tribes and so on. And all of that is hypnotic. It maintained people's history. It brought the community together. And the language itself was bringing in change and empowerment a lot of the time.
Okay, so that's our claim is, you're already a hypnotist. You just might not be a very good one yet. Our evidence of that is, well, words cause change. So let's talk about now how you can use some words. So we're going to move into a conversation on something Mike likes to call power language. We're going to describe stuck states and moving towards a target. So here is the next slide. Let's move to this one. And Mike, can I have you walk through this?
Present state is where you are. It's the sum total of everything going on inside you.
Or a client that you're working with.
Or someone else, yes. So it could be a family member, it could be you, it could be a client, a sales subject, whatever. Present state is the sum total of everything. It's how you're feeling physically, whether you're hungry or not, if you're tired or not, how alert are you? It's what internal dialogue you have, what pictures you're making in your mind, what beliefs you're holding. All of these will combine to constitute the present state. Now, apart from that, we have off to the side the target state. And don't worry about the VAK for just a moment. Target state is what you want instead of the one where you are. So if you're in therapy, your present state might be phobic, afraid of spiders. Your target state might be happy, having fun, and spiders do not bother you any longer. In life, which is a great model for therapy, they're models for each other. Your present state might be, I don't like where I'm living. I want to live in it. I'm living in this place that's a drag. I don't like the neighborhood, whatever. And your target state might be in a relationship in a totally different location with more money in the bank, whatever. So we have to transform your present state to your target state through the addition of resources. And those resources might be financial. They might be all kinds of different things. So the way we do it is we define what the target state is. You have to know what it is, because if you don't know what the target state is, if you do not identify the target, well, guess what? You are firing a gun in the dark and just hoping that you hit it. You have to identify the target and you have to define it in visual, auditory, and kinesthetic terms, which are the VAK. Now, visual is obviously the pictures, your sight. Auditory is the sounds and the words, and kinesthetic is both touch and feelings, emotions. So when you have a target state, it's not enough to say, okay, your present state is nearly bankrupt. Your target state is, I want more money. That's not good enough, because you can hand somebody a quarter and they got more money, but it's not their target state. Instead, you have to say, what will you see, hear, and feel when you have that? Well, I'll see this number in my bank account.
Yeah.
I'll feel a sense of accomplishment. I'll hear my wife saying, wow, you've really done a great job, honey, this kind of thing.
Okay.
You have to have some way of defining what this target state is.
Yeah, I put it up on the board here as well. And I'm going to write underneath target state that you need to know your criteria. Is that what you call it? Definition criteria.
Yes.
Criteria.
How will you know you have it?
And that is visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. What will you see? What will you hear? What will you
feel? Now, the reason this is crucial is because this tunes something in your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. Now, what the reticular activating system is is the tuning point of what you notice. In fact, consciously, while I'm talking to you now, you're only able to keep track of about 7 bits of information. Some say 9, some say 5. It really doesn't matter. It's not that many. But unconsciously, below the threshold of your awareness, you're keeping track of 3 million to 20 million bits of information per second. Stuff like heart valve synchronization, 500 liver enzymes, calcitonin from your bloodstream to your bones, your blood pressure, whether you're blinking or not, all of this stuff is happening unconsciously. So our model here is your conscious awareness is these 7 bits of information in your present tense head right now, and then everything else which is unconscious hidden below the surface.
And so give us an example of how you can use words to change what somebody is consciously aware of, and therefore, of course, later we can talk about how we can segue that into a trance.
Okay, so if I talk to you in a certain way, I can cause you to drop certain things out of those 7 chunks of information, and other things come from your unconscious and occupy those 7 chunks, and the things that were there drop into unconscious awareness.
In other words,
so we displace them.
Yeah, you're forcing new things in, which pushes something else
right
out.
So they're things that are there, but they're unconscious. So let me show you this or illustrate it. At the end of this sentence, you can suddenly feel your feet with your shoes or slippers wrapped around them, and you can notice your tongue inside your mouth. Bing, where did that come from? Well, now you can feel it. Well, it was always there, and the nerves were always transmitting, but you've been deleting it. Just like you can now be aware that you are breathing. That's right, and I'm assuming you've been breathing all this time. So these are things that are moving just in response to what I'm saying to you from your unconscious awareness to your conscious awareness.
Right, and Mike's using examples here that would be appropriate in a hypnosis environment with a client. You can do the same thing conversationally with somebody, just talking to them about when they were at that movie. It reminded you, when I was at that movie, you know, last week, it reminded me when I was a child. I remember being a child, and we went and we saw The Karate Kid when it was first released. And when we came out of that movie, we all felt so fantastic because it reminded us of just how powerful we could be if we put our heart to something and studied and worked really hard. And you're pushing things into someone's conscious awareness because they are trying to relate to the story. Is that a
sure? They're relating to the language itself. So back to the reticular activating system. What you notice. The example I love to give is years ago in the 1980s, I went and bought a Minolta 35 millimeter camera. Before I realized I am profoundly auditory, I have 0 visual skill. So I bought this camera, and all my pictures look terrible. They all look like this. Hi. Like snapshots. I mean, ridiculous for a 35 millimeter SLR. So I bought the camera. My wife, who has great visual skill, wound up inheriting it. Prior to that, I came out of the store, Henry's Cameras in Toronto, with this 35 millimeter Minolta, all excited, walked out the door, and the very first thing I see is a bus going by, and on the side it says Canon. And I went, wow, Pentax up here, Nikon, Hasselblad, Leica, Ricoh. Everywhere I looked, there was a camera ad all of a sudden. And I'm thinking, who the heck put all these here? Well, I was just in that store. Well, they were always there. My reticular activating system, the reticule of the brain that determines what we focus on and notice in our conscious awareness, had been activated to notice anything to do with cameras by my fascination and interest in my new subject, photography.
And bringing this back to words now, the words that you use, so we're going to get onto power language, the words that you communicate to yourself and to others are going to change what that reticule is focused on.
Yes, definitely. They will. Yeah.
All right.
So as we just did with the feet and the shoes and the feeling of the
Exactly.
tongue and the teeth, of course.
All right.
So you're using words to focus on these things. Now, if you want more out of life, and who doesn't, here's where the rubber meets the road. You can get all kinds of things in life that you may not have realized you're able to get pure by activating your reticular activating system. Don't go after things with your conscious mind. Let your unconscious mind, with all the trillion neurons there and its wealth of information, go after things for you. And in fact, it's easier than you might imagine. You have in your unconscious awareness every movie you've ever seen, every book you've ever read, every conversation you've ever had, every snippet of information that's ever gone into your brain, everything you've ever seen is stored there to some degree in a protein that's called kinase C. This is all below the threshold of your awareness, though, but it's all available for your use as resources. So you've got this powerful wealth of stuff in your brain, but you need to apply it to your life. And the first thing you want to do is identify the target state. What do I want? Remember, and define it. What will I see, hear, and feel when I have it? I want to live here. I want to do this and this and this. Make it very clear. People who set their goals tend to realize them. People who review their goals tend to realize them, not because they're drawing the universe in through the secret or something like that. No, it's because they're activating the reticular activating system that begins working behind the scenes to get them what they want. For example, years ago, I had a book when I was a kid, Peterkin Papers, loved it when I was a little kid, read it when I was homesick with measles, lost it when we moved. Always wished I had it again, just as a pleasant feeling from the past. Set up my reticular activating system. I want that book again. I want the Peterkin Papers again. And I thought about it intently, and periodically I thought about, and then I forgot about it. And I was walking north in Toronto, on the west side of Yonge Street, months later, in pouring rain, and walked into a used bookstore just to get out of the rain. And as I walked in, I turned my head, and there was the Peterkin Papers on the top shelf. The distinctive cover caught my attention. Out of thousands of books, I bought it for $2, and I had it again. Now, have I psychically found it? No, not at all. But my unconscious mind and the reticular activating system, with its immense power of taking in 3 to 20 million bits of information per second, was monitoring my environment all the time. And obviously, every time I went into a bookstore, it was looking for that distinctive color. And this day found it immediately.
Right.
Tune your reticular activating system. We're going to show you some very good ways of doing that.
In other words, the book would have been there anyway, of course. You just wouldn't have noticed it.
I wouldn't have noticed it
And
before.
this is going to all make sense when we connect it to the power of state, teach you the John Grinder model,
right?
All kinds of other things that fit into this in terms of how to get what you want.
So the first thing is find out, what do I want? That is the magic question that'll get you more out of life than anything else. If you get nothing else from this webinar today, learn that. You must define what you want. When you meet someone and they're having, an argument, or you're at work and someone's pissed off about something, can we say pissed off?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so what you want to be careful of is, don't ask them what's wrong. You ask them what's wrong, you'll fire all those bad emotions. Well, are you kidding? I got that idiot Dave down the hall to deal with, and I was an hour late today, and I may lose my job, and I lost this money. They'll give you all the reasons. That's focusing on the present state.
What's
wrong?
So
when you ask what's wrong, you're focusing on the present state. Instead of asking the person what's wrong when they're freaking out, ask them, what do you want? I just want, which is the target state. So anytime you're dealing with a problematic person, someone who's angry, irritated, you can test this. Don't take my word for this, folks. Go up to somebody you know who's always irritable. The kind of people who are just nitpicking and pissed off all the time and bugged by everything. And go up and smile sweetly and say, why are you so irritated all the time? And watch what happens.
Present state
you will
question.
Fire the present state question. You'll make their irritability go off the scale. It'll make it so much worse immediately. So instead, when someone's angry, this screwed up and this screwed up, you say, okay, what exactly do we want here? Well, we want to stop the screw up. No, but what do we actually want? What is the positive thing? Well, we want to be able to get that client list and do this. Okay, how are we going to do that?
I'm going to write down
always identify, what do you want? Chris, I don't think you should keep jumping up. I think it's like the shiny object thing, and it gets...
Sure. Well, I
find I'm watching you writing instead of talking to the camera. What do you want? And what's the question you've written?
I'll do my writing while we're on the slides.
Okay, because this is backwards on the screen.
Yeah, I know.
I can't read what you're writing.
This is what do you want?
Thank you. Because this is mirror image in front of us on the other monitor.
That's your magic question.
Realize, guys, how powerful this is. Years ago, I was lecturing to Inuit kids, Eskimo kids, northern Canada, so way up in Northwest Territories. And there was a suicide epidemic. The kids were killing themselves at the rate of about 2 per week. Carbon monoxide poisoning, hanging, being the favorites. And I was flown up there by the community to do a hypnosis show to raise the spirits and to meet and do a seminar in helping the local community, tribal leaders, RCMP officers, teachers, counselors, whatever, concerned parents, take the suicide rate down. And I said, what are you currently doing that isn't working? And the one psychologist said, we keep asking these kids, why are you killing yourselves?
Stuck
state. What does that do? It amplifies the present state. I said, well, what answers do you get? Well, we hate it in Iqaluit. It's dark 18 hours a day. There's no jobs for us. There's no breakout programs. No rock bands come as far north. Whatever. They gave a million reasons why they hate it and amplified it. I said, there's half your problem. Have any of you asked the magic question? He said, what's that? So the magic question is, what do you want? You've got to identify the target state again. Until you identify it, you're firing in the dark. So they identify the target state, build breakout programs, build consensus, and the suicide rate mysteriously drops again. They just asked a better question. Before you say anything, Chris, I want to illustrate one more point so people really get the value of this. Identifying the target state is one of the most immensely powerful things you can do. What do we want? Anytime you're stuck in your life, you've lost track of the target state. What do I want? When you go through major changes in your life, change your job, relationship, whatever, your target state might have changed and you might still be working towards an old one. Find out what you want. Refocus. It takes time to move a big ship towards that new target. You have to ask periodically. Years ago, my wife and I were driving in the car. We got in a stupid argument in the car and back and forth. And we were going to a barbecue at a friend's house. And I slammed the car and parked, put the four-way flashers on. She said, "What are you doing, you idiot?" I said, "Look, honey, where are we going?" She said, "Don't be stupid. You know where we're going. We're driving to Ray's place." I said, I realize that. "But what do we want?" She says, "Oh, don't try this on me, Dr. Hypnosis." I said, "Okay, pretend I'm not. Then pretend you're not pretending anymore." She went, okay. I'll play along. Right. She said, "We're going to Ray's house." I said, "For what purpose? What do we want?" She said, "Well, for a barbecue." I said, "For what purpose? What do we actually want?" And she said, "Well, to have fun." And I didn't say anything. We both burst out laughing. We had lost track of the target state, and all the argument in the car was problematic because we lost track of the target. As soon as we refocused on what we wanted, not what we don't want, what you do want. You'll see this in therapy all the time.
Yeah.
You know that too. Clients come in.
Absolutely.
"What do you want?" "Well, I don't want to be depressed."
That's the very first question I ask clients.
First question. What do you want? "Well, I don't want to be depressed." "Okay, well, let me hypnotize you so you're terrified of carpets." "How would that be?"
"No, I don't want that.
I don't want that either." See, the list of what you don't want is infinite. You don't want to be a tin miner on Jupiter either. You know, "I don't want to take this coffee cup and smash it against my eye." It's an infinite list. We want to know what we do want, because that's what the reticular activating system will move you towards as you consistently.
So I want to check in at this point with the audience, because I've got my other computer here monitoring the chat room. For those of you listening, I want you to pay attention to this advice. Get really good at focusing on target state, noticing the language that you're using or someone else is using, and then observing, is this present state, stuck state language, or is this process-oriented words that will get somebody or myself towards the target state? Now, having said that, is this helpful to you? Let us know in the chat room. Is this making sense?
Right. Let's clarify what he said about process-oriented. A stuck state is what you don't want. I'm stuck. I am depressed.
Why am I so depressed?
You're stuck. Instead of "why am I depressed?" "How can I be happy?" is a much more empowering question. How questions are process questions. They move you forward. So instead of stuck state questions, "Why am I so stupid?" your brain will answer whatever you ask it. It'll presume the question's accurate or reasonable or real. So when you ask, "Why am I so stupid?" your brain will go, "Well, both your parents are stupid. You know, there's a genetic basis for this. Your friends are stupid. You hang around with a bunch of idiots. In fact, if you want to be the smartest person you know, just hang around with stupid people. It works every time. And
you don't read much.
You don't eat properly. You don't exercise. You don't exercise, so you're not getting blood and glucose to your brain. You go, "I am stupid," because you've asked, "Why am I so stupid?" So instead of asking why, which is a stuck state question, ask a how question, which moves you to the target state. So instead of "Why am I so stupid?" a better question is, "How can I get smarter?" Let your brain answer that. Or ask yourself the question I've been asking myself every day for probably 15 to 20 years. How can I get smarter today than yesterday? And have an absolute blast while I'm doing it. Let my brain generate those answers.
Now that brings up the topic, which we will get to very shortly, of empowering questions. But shiny object alert. I'm just going to stand up. I'll do this while you're paused. I want to make sure I write this down. So why is a stuck state question?
Yeah, present state question.
Recommend you would replace that with something like
with a how question.
How?
Or what can we do?
Well, any other? There is no rule here other than ask process-oriented questions.
Why is a bad question if you're trying to solve a problem?
Right.
Some people specialize in it. Why am I depressed? Why did this screw up? Why? But it does nothing whatever to move them towards resolution. A lot of people take this on because of old ideas about psychiatry and psychology and psychoanalysis and this mythology that we cannot fix a problem until we know why it happened. We got to go digging around in the outhouse of the past and go through all the garbage and figure out what. No. I've fixed hundreds of things with clients, corporate and therapeutic, without a clue as to why they had it. Who cares? If you feel better, it lasts forever and you got a better life. Who cares why it happened in the first place?
All right.
So move into the process.
I am, by the way, paying attention to questions in the chat room, like Justin's question here. I just flagged it for later for the Q&A session.
Okay.
So what else are we going to talk about in terms of power language? So we have,
well,
why don't we move on
let's go to try. Try is another one.
I'll write it down.
Try is a particularly toxic word. And the reason I hate it is because it implies failure. It's built into the very word itself. What do we say? If at first you don't succeed, try again and fail, and try again and fail. It's built into the whole language. You know, hey, Dave, how's that son of yours doing? Oh, Skipper's a little trooper. He really is. How's that gymnastics club he's involved in? He just went to a meet, didn't he? Yeah, he really tried his best. He failed, didn't he?
This is
yeah, he failed, but he tried. He really tried. Yeah. People will try implies fail. It's built right into it. If you got to move tomorrow or this weekend and you can't get a moving van because you got this last minute chance to move into a new place, and you frantically start phoning moving companies, and everybody's booked up all the way to Nebraska, and you're going, what am I going to do? Then you remember a guy you know has his own truck, guy you work with. He's got a cube van. You think that would work. You barely know him, and you say, Fred, phone him up. What are you doing Saturday morning at 7:30? He goes, he starts hedging. So he doesn't know if you're asking him to go fishing or to do something he doesn't want to do. So Fred says, well, I don't know. I'm going to be kind of busy. What do you got in mind? Well, I have to move, and I was hoping you'd come around with that truck of yours and help me. Oh, is that right? Eh? Well, I'll try. Yeah. Now, is he going to show up? No, we know he's not going to show, but we still hope he is. You go, thank you, Fred. Thank God for friends like you. I'm really counting on it. Try as hard as you can, Fred, which is meaningless. And then what happens is Saturday morning rolls around, 7:30 he's not there, 8:30, 9:30. Finally, you realize he's not showing up. You're really irritated, and you move by yourself. You finally get moved in at 4:30 in the morning, including moving a grand piano, baby grand on your shoulders up the stairs, and your neck and back will never be the same. You show up to work the next day, paralyzed like this, and Fred sees you, goes, oh, wow, what happened to you? Were you in a car crash or something? You say, no, Fred, it was the move. It almost destroyed me. I moved in alone. You were going to try to come in with that truck of yours. You never did. What happened? Oh, yeah. I got kind of busy, but I tried. Do you thank him warmly? Tears of gratitude in your eyes. Thank you for trying, Fred. Thank you. You're a wonderful human. He's done nothing. Do not accept try from people. If someone says, I'll try, and don't use it yourself, at least try not to. If someone says, I'll try, you're better off saying, is that a yes or a no? Because you're better getting a no than I'll try. Because if you get a no, you can keep asking other people till somebody says yes. Try keeps you hanging. Do not accept try.
And if you're managing people, or if you're a parent with kids, or if you're a therapist and you're working with clients, and you're going to notice the people you work with are going to use the word try quite often, and it's your job to educate them that implies failure, that you get that word out of their vocabulary. In fact, we've talked about this, not out, but the only times,
try it on for size.
I don't want to make this a hard and fast rule, but one very okay place to use the word try is like, oh, well, have you ever had the salmon before? Oh, no, I haven't. Would you like to try it? What we mean is experience it.
Yeah,
and then
try it on for
decide whether
size.
you like it or
That's not the same thing at all.
Perfect, fine.
But you'll notice this in certain films. Whenever there is something like a hostage taking in a film, or someone's gone missing or whatever, there'll always be the scene where the police are there with the distraught family member, and the detective will say,
we're going to try our best.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But this, this.
We're going to get him back. We're going to try our best.
No.
They
say.
I'm going to say it again. No.
They say to the parent, try and get some sleep.
Oh, yeah. Try to get some sleep.
And you know they're going to be lying awake for hours.
Greatest way to give somebody insomnia, right?
Incredible.
Try not to get insomnia tonight.
Trying, it causes the law of reversed effect. The harder you try to do something, the more you fail. You focus on the trying instead of the actual doing. This goes back to neurolinguistics long before Yoda ever said it. So anyway, that's another example.
So you'll hear somebody say something like, try to remember to buy milk on your way home. Well, let's not try to remember. Let's just remember.
Yeah, just bring milk home.
Let's just do it. Yeah, exactly.
Simpler, right?
Yeah, that's another level of
another power language word here that really is powerful to know about is can't.
Can't. Okay, I'll write that down.
Yeah, take a
shiny object.
A shiny object break. Thank you. I couldn't think of the term quickly enough, but I tried. Can't is another interesting word. Do you know that we operate on minimal effort as human beings? This should be self-evident. It is way easier to lie on the couch and eat Doritos and watch TV than it is to get up and run a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
We move towards inertia, and this might be in our genetic heritage that we attempt to use the least amount of energy possible, because back 60,000 years ago, running away from saber-toothed tigers, we didn't know when we were going to have our next meal, so we wanted to store as much. Conserve energy. So our brains work on that. It will apply the minimal amount of energy to a task it possibly can, and so will your body. For example, if you want to learn to be a really good swimmer, and then you go, you know what? I'm not only going to be a swimmer, I'm going to get my weight down by swimming. I'm going to exercise by swimming and lose all this fat. Now, you can get in phenomenal shape swimming. Make no mistake about it. You have great cardio, great muscular strength and development. You can have tremendous flexibility and joint lubricacity or whatever it is. You can be in great shape is what I'm saying. But swimming is not a great way to lose fat, because in order to float properly, to float easily, you have to store fat, and your brain makes it as easy as possible. That's why Olympic swimmers, especially women who tend to store more, they aren't skinny girls like marathon runners. They're storing excess fat, or extra fat, not excess. Must be careful here. The sufficient amount to enable them to be more buoyant, to make it easier to swim. So for that reason, our brains, our bodies attempt to conserve energy as much as possible. When you say you can't do something, and you say it meaningfully and you believe it, guess what happens? Your brain will generally act as if it's true, and will shut down the very resources that you need to accomplish that task. So if you have to learn a new language for your job, and some idiot determines that this is the law, and you go, oh man, I can't learn a new language. I've never been good at languages. I couldn't learn French or German in school. I can't learn a new language. Your brain goes, okay, then won't be needing the Broca Speech Center. Let's power this sucker down. And the harder you work at it, the more you try to acquire that language, the more the circuitry will be shut down, because it's saving energy. So how do you deal with this? Do you say you can do something instead of you can't? Still not a good answer. You don't want to put on skis for the first time in your life. Go to Whistler, BC, to the scariest, most terrifying hill marked by skulls and crossbones on the map. And the only people you see are the staff who sharpen all the flinty rocks in the morning to make it even more dangerous. And you go up 2 chairlifts, and the third one, there's oxygen waiting for you at the top. You're the only person there, and you got $10,000 worth of new ski equipment for the first time in your life, but you're positive, and you've been listening to Norman Vincent Peale and Robert Schuller, and you got all your trite phrases, a gleam in your beam, and you're on the dream, all this stuff. And you go, I can ski, and launch yourself into space. You'll discover you can die, because lying to yourself is still lying. So if we don't say you can't do something, and you don't say you can do something, which is it? What do? Turn it into process. Again. I am learning to ski. You tell your brain you're learning to ski. You're learning to speak French or Hungarian or whatever it is. If you say you've arrived or you can't do it, it's not a very good idea. But if you say you are learning it, you're in process, your brain goes, I can be cool with that. It leaves all the circuitry up and running and makes the task much, much easier. So I am constantly learning about hypnosis and other things. I've never arrived. And my brain likes the process of continuously taking the information in. So newsflash, don't say you can't do something. The old adage is, whether you say you can or you can't, you're probably right. So put it in process, and that's even better.
And I just noticed here, Jack in the comments has said, I have begun avoiding using try after the last webinar. It's a cop-out term. I want to make one point to you here. You haven't been avoiding using the word try. You have started putting things into process instead, right?
That's right.
Right. So instead of saying what you aren't doing, talk about what you are doing, because it's much more powerful. All right.
And that's hilarious, because just at that moment, a text just came in from Yusuf.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so one of our students who's a gold medalist in
jiu-jitsu.
In judo. No, I thought someone was talking relative to this. So anyway, he's going to be working on his judo skills through a lot of these skills that we're teaching.
Psychogenic coaching.
Yes.
Okay, that's enough power language for now,
okay.
I think. So let's move back to the slides. I'm going to bring up the idea here of, or you're going to bring up the idea. I'm just going to bring up the slide, Mike.
Okay, Chris.
Let's get it. Here we are. Wait for it. Empowering questions. Right. So you already actually gave one as an example. And I'll just leave the slide up here for a moment.
Right. The example I gave was, instead of what's wrong, it's much better to say, how can I fix this? How can we fix this? It's a process question. So one of the most powerful things, guys, that you can do to change your life, and I get paid lots of money to do this with corporate clients and organizations and one-on-one. This stuff is freaking gold if you will just apply it. I'm going to give you the whole thing right now for free. Tune your reticular activating system every day by asking yourself the right kind of questions. And here's what I mean by that.
Let's go back to the camera.
We are back to the questions that move you into process. So find what is most important to you in life and what you want most in life. When you have determined this, write down 3 to 5 questions that will focus your RAS, your reticular activating system, every single day. So let's say I had gone through a spell of a lot of viruses and colds and I wanted to be healthier. So instead of asking a disempowering question,
why am I so
sick all the time? Then my brain gives me the answers.
Well, you're not getting any vitamin D, and it's
vitamin
winter.
D, it's winter. Your parents were sick all the time. You got bad genetics. You'll probably be dead within the year.
You don't exercise. You're depressed. Yeah.
So I'd have to ask an empowering question instead. How can I get healthier? Instead of why am I sick? How can I get healthier and have a blast doing it? And you start to build and construct and work on this question. You craft it superbly until you have your finished product.
We'll edit that out.
We will. You get on a live thing. Yeah. You get your finished product. So you get a process question and then you tool around with it until it's perfect. So I'll give you an example so you can apply this immediately. As a therapist in the 1990s, I worked with a young girl, 12 years old, who was going through major issues at school with one particular teacher. Her mother brought her in, and I got the kid to retune her brain through empowering questions. That was the heart of the therapy with this kid. No trauma, nothing like that. She's had to function differently, think differently, behave differently. So here's what happened. I said, I want you to come up with a question, and I taught her the whole empowering question thing. So the first round was this. Why is my teacher mad at me all the time? I said, okay. What answers do you get when you ask yourself that? Well, because I'm noisy and she doesn't like me and she's stupid and all this stuff. I said, okay, this is a problem. You're using a why question. And she was smart and she understood what I meant. So she changed it. The second round became, how can I make my teacher happy? Oh, no, she said, how can I not annoy my teacher?
Yeah.
That was still focusing on negative, not annoying her, which you don't want. It's got to be a positive. So she went, okay. I said, what's another way of saying, how can I not make her mad? She said, how can I make my teacher happy and like me? I said, oh, that's good. So we kept working on it. And then she changed it to, what am I going to do today so my teacher will like me and be happy with me? Today. Now she's brought it into the moment as something she is going to do. This is what I mean about fine-tuning these questions. And if you get 3 to 5 questions, 3 is probably enough, of the key areas in your life you want to work on. How can I have better relationships and spread love and happiness to the people around me? Great questions. You create some, not why questions, not negative questions, not what you don't want, what you do want, the target state reflected in these 3 to 5 questions. Then you print them off and you put them where you brush your teeth so you see them every day. And every time you brush your teeth, you ask yourself the question and see what answers you generate. What they will do is flawlessly and continuously reset the internal focus so that your unconscious mind will move you towards the acquisition of your goals. You don't even have to work at it. Listen, guys, that's the miracle in this. It's not like, oh, this will keep me ramped up to keep moving forward. No, it isn't that. It's not a pep rally. It is a refocusing of the wealth of your unconscious mind so that it will be doing the work for you.
Right. Now, that's just to make sure you're not misunderstanding Mike. He's not saying do all of these things and your unconscious will mysteriously make your life amazing and you will have learned all these new skills. If you're, let's say you're a weightlifter and you want to put on muscle mass, you still have to go out and actually do the work, right? So,
of course,
yeah, you're just saying you're going to tune your reticular activating system. You're going to now be naturally, without having to work at it, in the state of mind to go out and execute.
But it goes beyond that. See, that can still sound kind of pep rally-ish. What I mean is, I'm back to the example of the Peterkin papers, that book. That was done at an unconscious level. Your unconscious will get snippets of conversations. It'll notice things that bring things to your attention. You go, oh, shoot, that's that weight set. I should buy that. That's going to get me in much better shape. And this kind of thing will happen.
Okay. So let's just write down, we already wrote down process when we said don't use can't. Put it in a process word instead. So when you're writing an empowering question,
your head's in front of can't.
What's that? Yeah, I'm moving it out of the way here. So you want process oriented? You want it to be positive. It must be positive, right? And what was the third one? I had a P. The third P was presuppositions.
You build in some presuppositions, yeah. As I get smarter every day and have fun learning, how will I take on this new topic? Whatever it is, you're presupposing certain things are going to happen.
And
make it today. Don't make it, how will I learn over the next 5 years? No. What will I do today?
Right. You don't want to be like our friend who says, "Oh, I'm going to get in shape next year." Next year, Mike.
Yep, next year.
Yeah. How am I going to get into shape?
The goal is always moving with him. What are you going to do today about it? Is the question.
Fantastic. Okay.
Remember, how to eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Tiny shifts done consistently will yield phenomenal results. Guys, I'm the living proof of this. I'm the living proof of it. These things have happened in my own life. I became a wine writer, jumped into the wine industry, became a wine judge. All of these things happened by just taking on this stuff and applying these techniques.
So let's just bring this back briefly to the topic of hypnosis and hypnotic communication. An empowering question, whether you ask it to yourself or you ask it to someone else, is hypnotic because the words cause change, causes people to think in processes.
And the callers are calling us.
Yeah.
It causes you to internalize, to go inside for the answers. And that's the hypnotic part.
Right.
Turning the attention inward.
So these are all tools that fit together. Let's move on because we have so much more to cover. And we've already been going 50 minutes, Mike, if you can imagine that. So we may have to, this month, perhaps skip some of the content. But we will see. Okay, the next slide is...
What's the one after that, Chris?
It's about.
Let's see. What's the one after that?
Here we go. This one thing is essential to affecting change in other people. So knowing what you know so far, you can accomplish a lot. Can you not?
You can.
However, you can amplify the results. And in fact, if you don't have this, you will have a very tough time changing anyone. And what is this?
Rapport. Rapport is the glue that holds relationships and trances together. And I don't think we're going to do anything on the board now. But rapport is the French word, rapport, but we're using the English one, rapport. It's the same term. And it is a remarkable thing. Rapport is a sense of connectedness with other people. And people who are close friends are in automatic rapport. Their friendship stays together. They like the same things. They talk about the same things. They think about the same things. They hang out with the same kinds of people. Rapport is the sense of connectedness where we seem similar to other people. It's what holds hypnotic trances together, and it's what keeps relationships together. When people lose rapport, then relationships tend to fall apart. So this is unfortunately something a lot of people don't seem to recognize, and they don't make any effort to deliberately build rapport. Now, what do you want to contribute to this, Chris? Because you're a rapport builder par excellence.
Well, let's just move to the next slide, how to build rapport, because that's what we're going to talk about here is. And one of the things I want to
if you want to influence how to be in rapport with them.
Right. What I want to suggest is building rapport with someone is primarily, in my view, about being in a situation where you like them and they like you. If you can get somebody to like you and you genuinely like them, you're in that psychodynamic loop and you will be in rapport just naturally.
Yes, and then you'll be influential with them and able to help them change.
Showing genuine interest in the things that they are interested in will have the other person feel like you're fascinated by the topic. They will naturally be in rapport. Paying genuine compliments to someone about something that isn't super obvious, maybe something not everyone will have noticed, like those new glasses look really great on you. They suit your face. Where did you get those?
If it's a genuine compliment.
It has to be genuine. And so you don't just give the compliment. The one thing I've learned about this is you give the compliment, then you ask a question, looking for information back, so that gives the person a chance to talk about the topipic that you
which will put them in a great state.
Right. And so, but that's not all. There's more stuff we'll talk about.
Let's use an example. So put us on screen here, Chris.
Sure.
Because I want to give you an example here, guys. A number of years ago, I was experimenting with this to a great degree, and now I sort of do it all the time, just working with people anyway. But one of the ways of building rapport is to mirror the other person's body language.
Right.
So if they have expressive gestures like that, you do not want to be like this, all locked up. There is zero rapport there. Likewise, you can imitate their head tilt. If they tilt their head to the side,
we'll do it.
If whatever it is, the person's beside you or across from you. It doesn't have to be the same way around. You can do it either direction. If the person does a repetitive gesture like this as they talk, you can just tap your hand in their vision. Every time they move their hand, you tap yours. So if I'm moving this talking, Chris could just tap his hand or do something in time with it. So he's going to make sure that he's mirroring and matching this thing that I'm doing. Even your spinal tilt, if the person's leaning forward talking to you, doing that, Richard Nixon thing, Ed Sullivan, do the same thing, lean forward towards them as well. There's an art to this. There's a dance to this that is extremely powerful. And when you have rapport by not mimicking the person, because mimicking,
You're not copying.
you're not copying. You're getting into this beat with them. If they nod slowly as they talk, you can nod slowly as you speak back to
Different
them.
amplitude too. You don't like what you don't have to nod at the same.
Right,
You
just a little
just
bit.
subtle.
You can blink when they blink. Every time they take a breath, you can tap your finger. You're pacing them. This is called pacing. It's like pacing another runner. In order to run beside a runner, you have to run in pace with them. And the most amazing things can happen when you do this. And one of these things is you're dealing with someone, you want to build some sort of short-term relationship or friendship with them. When you pace them and offer back their own behavior, even their language, the person says, I was there for 17 years. Just say their exact words. You go, 17 years. Their exact words will send a signal back to them and build the rapport. Now, this connectedness through pacing means that when you have rapport, now you can lead. When you lead, if you do something, guess what? They will do the same thing. And they won't even know they're doing it. When that happens, you have rapport, and you have now built a communication bridge between you and this person that is very powerful. So you pace them until you have rapport, and then when you do something, they will imitate you without knowing. Now, here's why I'll give you a critical example of this, of how well this can work. Many years ago, I had a printer I was selling. It was a dot matrix printer, real fast. You know, it did 5 pages an hour, kind of thing. And I was selling it and buying a Hewlett-Packard LaserJet 4 at the time, which is this big and state of the art. And so I wanted to sell this dot matrix printer. So I put it on sale through the buy and sell and added $50 to the price or something so they could talk me down and feel they were getting a deal, which is a standard negotiation trick. So a man comes over to look at this printer. He doesn't know about computers or printers, so he's brought his friend with him. His friend is the computer expert. Who do I build rapport with? The man paying the money or the expert?
Always the authority.
The authority, the expert, because he's going to make the decision for the guy and tell him to spend his money. So when the guy comes in, he's got this jacket on with all these crests from ham radio club events, 22 contacts at 30 megahertz, 1994, and all this stuff. Now, I know enough about ham radio to fake it because my dad was VE3 FBO. He was an amateur radio enthusiast. And I know a bit about shortwave as well. So I said, hey, ham radio. And he went, yes. Are you an amateur radio guy? And I said, no. And he went, oh. And I saw the rapport disappear instantly. I went, oh, blown opportunity. I jumped back in and I said, but my father was VE3 FBO. Hey, what's happening with the gray line DXing? What are you getting on the tropical bands these days? Are you still getting skip on F1 and F2? Now, this is his language. I have, with those sentences, used up everything I know about radio. He doesn't know that. And he gets excited because think about it. If you're talking about your favorite subject, are you in a good state? You feeling good? Absolutely. So he goes, oh, it's amazing. He said, but we've had this bad sunspot cycle of 11 years and now the DXing's bad. And he's talking about his favorite thing and he's in a powerful state, a good state. And as he's talking, he's moving his weight leg to leg and he keeps gesturing like this over and over. So I take it on with him and I'm standing across from him and I'm moving leg to leg in pace with him. And every now and then I'm doing the same gesture and offering his language back. Oh, F2 shut down. Wow. I built this powerful rapport. I paced him. And now the conversation lulls. And the guy who's going to pay the money or not says, well, do I buy it or not? So I jump in and now take the lead. I gestured with the guy's gesture and said, it's a good printer at a fair price. And the guy says, he's right. It is a good printer at a fair price. It's the same words. That's the same gesture.
Yeah.
The guy pays me the full amount, does not even talk me down the extra I put on top. And they left with the printer. I stood there with the money in my hands at the bottom of my basement stairs going, power so great it could only be used for good or evil. Match the person's body language, match their vocal tone, match even the speed at which they speak. Then you can do this on the telephone, and then you will build a powerful, powerful bridge with them.
All right. Now, question for you, Mike. Do you think we have time to cover the power of state?
I don't know.
We are running quickly out of time, so we have the power of state, the as if frame.
Oh, let's do the as if frame.
Let's do that. Okay, that's a really important one. And it won't take very long.
Really important.
Because I do want to make sure we have time for Q&A. We promised that we would.
So let's do the as if frame. Let's go to Q&A for the remaining time. The as if framework or frame is a very, very powerful thing. It enables you to make changes in your life by borrowing the resources of someone else, or at least tricking your brain into borrowing them as though you have them, even if you don't. For example, one of the ways of looking at this is we say, fake it until you make it. Now, there's a lot of things you can do that in. but you can't do it with things like being a jet aircraft pilot or a brain surgeon. It'll fall apart real quick because there's requisite skills you will not have. But when you use the as if frame, you imagine something has already happened and act as though it has. For example, a number of years ago as a therapist, I was dealing with a woman north of Toronto. She was a widow. She'd lost her husband, had gone into a depression, which is very common, very typical, but she had gone past the point of time when someone typically comes out of the depression. So we're going to put the screen back up here. So she'd come out of the depression, and she had not come out of the depression after a long period of time other than just starting to function again. So she wasn't in the dumps, but her life was not moving forward is what I'm trying and failing to say. So she brought me in, actually her family brought me in to see if I could help her. And she had no social circle. A lot of the people she'd been friends with were her husband's friends from work, and they were no longer in her life after a year and a half of him dead, whatever it was. And so I was supposed to help her with this. And I said, okay, look, it's a year from now. Go into the future in your mind. See, in your mind, you can run a time machine. I said, go into the future in your mind. It's a year from now. You've got a new social circle. You're physically fit and active, and you're getting out and seeing people, and you're happy again. How did you do it? Did you?
Which implies
she's in the future looking back. This is the as if frame. She's acting as if she's in the future looking back. And she said, well, I guess I would. I said, no. How did you do it? She said, well, I went back to the YMCA and started swimming again. I said, okay. So I wrote this down. I said, what else? She said, well, when I was there, I looked at some of their other programs and used the library more, met some people there, went to some library lectures. Now she starts getting caught up in this, and to join a bridge club, started playing bridge again. And what else? Well, I went to that nature group I've heard about and then made some new friends there. So she went on for about 5 minutes of all this stuff. I said, okay, come back to present time. I said, here you go. And I handed her the sheet I just written based on what she said. I said, you've just designed your next year. Here's your plans. So she now used these plans and built in all these things into her life. She acted as if she had it and looked back. So you can apply this in a lot of ways. You're a martial artist and you're going to go into, a fight with some guy in the octagon. How would you stand? How would you move? How would you breathe if you were the toughest guy on the planet?
Right.
Take that on, live it as though it's yours. A number of years ago, I wanted to learn about wine. As I said earlier, I knew nothing about it. I mean, nothing. I didn't even know Chardonnay was a grape. You could have told me it was a tire iron. I would have believed you. Didn't have a clue. So I read Wine for Dummies, put some information in my head, then started reading a wine encyclopedia. And then I jumped into the wine industry in Canada, all through Niagara, at the very top of the industry, and started writing a column online about it, as though I was an expert. I acted as if I knew it all, and I looked things up when I had to, so I was always accurate. And cases of wine started showing up at my house. I was called one of the hot 5 in wine by City Bites magazine, and then I was asked to host the Ontario Wine Awards in character as this person I'd created. None of it was real, but it became real because I acted as if I had it and then kept living it as though it was real. It became real.
The fun example that I learned from you so many years ago, and I still to this day use it, and we've refined it together, is when you ask somebody a question, well, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? Would you like to go to, just something simple. What restaurant would you like to eat at tonight? Assuming you're going out for dinner. And someone says to you back, I don't know. And you say, well, if you did know, which one would it be?
Yeah.
Right? Because it uses the as if frame. And then they still, usually they'll just go, oh.
Well, I feel like Thai food.
They're tired. But sometimes they go, well, I don't know. I said, well, pretend that you did.
Pretend you know.
Pretend that you did. Yeah. And if you did know, which one would it be? And all you have to do is keep tossing that same line of questioning back at them, but you modify the language a little bit.
And they'll suddenly know.
And you reflect, like they say, well, I don't know. You go, that's okay, you don't know. But if you did, what
would it be? Or what could it be? And this is the as if frame in spades. How would you move if you had that resource? If you had, how would you think? What would your lifestyle be if you were the smartest person on earth? Start living it. Start imagining what these components could be, and then start living them in your life. And it's amazing what will happen for you.
Okay, so we're going to move. I'm just going to share the slides again here, because before we go to the Q&A, I promised I would talk about the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, because we've been going on here for about an hour. It seems like there's endless content that we could talk about. And in fact, we already have talked about it, because Mike has put the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, fully online. We spent about 2 years doing this. So want to make sure you understand everything we've covered so far involves tools that operate below the level of conscious awareness. These are hypnotic tools, the words that we've been talking about, the concepts.
Painless and effortless change.
And hypnosis is an amplifier of human experience. It's the express train, as Mike often says, to the unconscious mind, right? Hypnotic trance can happen accidentally because you are using words every single day with people and you're putting them in states purposefully or not. And it can happen by accident, but can also be something that you do on purpose. And you can do it on purpose covertly using conversation, or you can do it overtly in a therapeutic environment with a client sitting in a chair and you putting them into trance and asking them these kinds of empowering questions. And you'll learn a ton of this stuff from this man right here beside me, Mike Mandel. Hypnosis, of course, is an interconnected system. We have a variety of tools that we use here. For example, hypnotic inductions, putting somebody into a trance. Metaphors, the stories that we tell somebody, whether they're in a light trance, a deep trance, whatever it is. Embedded commands, the way that we use language to mark out certain things such that they are treated as a command to the unconscious mind. We have things like the Milton model, which comes from Milton H. Erickson, using artfully vague language because it's important for you to understand that there are ways that you can improve your level of communication in ways that you never thought possible by getting good at hypnosis now. And you can confuse people by talking about the right thing for them. That's the one that's left after the right one's been used up. You can do all kinds of fun things. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. Mike, anything to say on confusion? I'm feeling rather confused already. And of course, we've got things like tacit contracts, the concept that when you're going to do hypnosis with somebody, you can ask them a simple question like, before we go into trance together, would you like to
take a deep breath now?
Yeah, would you like to take a deep breath now, or would you like to just sit in that chair and go into a trance before you fix this problem? Which implies
all built in that they're going to fix it.
All built into the language.
Using language to create trance, to intensify trance, to change people, and to change oneself as well.
Right. Important point here being the concepts that you'll learn from Mike are very broad-based. They are not direct authoritative or purely Ericksonian, which is the whole artfully vague language. They are broad spectrum, and you can use them in conversation, overt, covert, with friends, with family, with kids, whatever. So Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, very best online training in the world. Here's how it works. It's 32 video lessons. Each lesson is about an hour of content plus 30 minutes of Q&A that goes along with it. So it's a ton of content. It's all mobile friendly, works on your mobile device, tablet, iPhone, whatever, or your PC. From any device you log in, you can access this content. You can download or stream. You have a community. You're interacting with us monthly because we do monthly ongoing webinars. We just did one earlier today for our students, and it's just a pure Q&A session where we answer your questions. All of the webinars are archived, so there's just tons of material when you join.
From the very first minute, it's all available.
Yeah. Now, here's the cool part. I convinced Mike that we should also make as available as a resource every single digital product that we've ever put out on MikeMandelHypnosis.com. And so that works out to over $400 in bonus content. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over everything that's there. But if you look at the products on MikeMandelHypnosis.com,
they're all included.
Every single one of them is included in the Academy. We do loads of demos. We keep adding material. As you can see, we're still active in this. Satisfaction guarantee simply means that you have 30 days to try it out. And if you're not happy, we don't want your money. It is the ultimate training package. So I really don't want to spend tons of time promoting this because I think it sells itself. It's just so awesome. The feedback has been amazing. I do need
feedback from everyone,
right?
From medical doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists. One guy says it's every lesson is a diamond mine, right up to
I'll put those on the,
okay, good.
I'll put the testimonials.
He's
up in a
prepared.
second. So last slide on this is the one thing that's new. We launched this with a drip feed system originally, and we still have that in place. So you can sign up at $47 a month. And you, just like Netflix, you can stay in as long as you want, or you can cancel anytime you want. And every month that goes by, more content is unlocked. So it would take you over a year to get access to the full thing, doing it with the monthly pass. But since we finished 32 lessons and we have some amazing stuff towards the end, we didn't want to force people to wait a long time to get access to it. We did recently introduce what we call the All Access Pass, which simply means that you pay one-time fee, you have a lifetime access account, and you get everything up front. Now, That's the recommended route. If you're interested in going through this stuff, you know, hog wild and just learning and absorbing all of this, that's what most people are doing these days. But you still have the option of going monthly. If you have questions about how it works, it's very simple. Feel free to ask us. Questions are always welcome. We will most likely, just like we did last month, close the doors following the replay of this webinar. I will leave this webinar up for 7 days as a replay. And then because we usually get a flood of new students and we want to be responsive to you and answer your questions and deal with you properly, service is important to us. We will likely close the doors temporarily while we adjust to the new load in the academy. And of course, the price is never going to be cheaper than it is right now. As we add content, we will eventually creep the price up in time. So you will see price inflation happen sooner rather than later. I recommend getting in at the price that it is now. And we will, of course, never restrict you and say, oh, well, we're charging you more for the stuff we're adding. We don't work that way. Once you're in, you get everything that we've got in there. So with that, let's move to the Q&A session. And what I like to do, Mike, is leave some of these testimonials from some of our students on the board as we handle questions. So let's go. I'm going to start right at the bottom. If you have questions, by the way, throw them in the chat room right now. We're going to stay on for a little while.
Excellent.
And I want to start with, where's the first one I flagged? It was from Justin. Hey, Mike and Chris, greetings from Vancouver. One question comes to mind. How frequently do you need to ask yourself what you want? The magic question.
Well, I think daily is probably the best. And that's why the empowering questions are so good. If you use the empowering questions in the morning every day, which are variations on what do you want, then you're going to break it down into the 3 to 5 specific questions. Once a day would probably be enough. It's going to get your unconscious mind moving forward very, very quickly.
Okay. Next one is from M. Ballum. Don't know where you are. Sorry. So I love to talk about where people are from. Tell us where you're from when you're asking questions, if you can, just because we love that. How do you prevent other people's opinions and comments and attitudes who still do it the other way stop from preventing you from taking on the new focus and behaviors? I find that when I apply myself this way, I clash with others who do it the other way, and they tend to ridicule or sigh as if I'm nuts. Oh, we have a usual answer for this. Fire your friends.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only...
You can't always fire your family.
I'm only partly kidding.
He's only partly kidding.
Hang around cool people who are going to support you.
Seriously. I'm not a believer in reincarnation. I think this is the one shot we get. I might be wrong. I believe it's the one shot we get, and life is too darn short to waste with disempowering people. There's two kinds of people in the world. There's balcony people who lift you up, and there's basement people who drag you down, and periodically you have to fire your friends. It's unfortunate. You can attempt to lift people up only so long, and eventually they become a liability, and you are better serving yourself and the world if you move on to somebody who respects and appreciates what you're doing.
Which is one of the things that is so awesome about our community. You get guys like Dr. Robert S. here. I didn't use his last name, didn't have permission. So every lesson is like going into a diamond mine. When you have that kind of content and you're in a community of people who support,
like-minded,
right, you are not going to worry if some of the people that you hang around don't see things your way, because there's going to be a ton of people who do, and they're all in the academy.
Lots of support. Yeah.
Right. And let's see what the next question is here. Dion wrote, how do you generate internal belief and confidence for something that you have not yet done successfully, especially if it is something you need effort to do, and deal with skepticism from your environment? How do you regain energy for that until you get past the post?
Well, you know, the one I like to use for that, Chris, is from Chinese medicine, and I find it extremely powerful. We'd need the video on for this.
Sure, let's go back to the video, and we can talk about that.
You can install the new beliefs, and the more consistently you do this, the better it's going to be. There's a spot on the back of your hand. It is between your ring finger and your baby finger, in the channel between those two fingers. So it's about 2 fingers wide. You can either tap it in the air or on a table like this.
Right there.
It's right there. In fact, here's how much I care about you guys. I'm actually marking it on my hand with a freaking X for you.
It's not a permanent marker. It's a dry erase.
Sorry, we'll edit it out. Yeah. So you see it. It's in the channel between those fingers. It's about 2 fingers wide. That is the 9 gamut, or the triple warmer in Chinese medicine. And it is phenomenal for building in new resources and new beliefs. So what you do is you act as if, we're back to the as if frame, act as if it's true, tap that spot continuously, and say the resources you want out loud as though you have them. I am getting stronger every day. I'm a powerful person. So either process statements or tell yourself you have it. In this case, is still good. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready for anything. I'm going to make a killer presentation. I'm smarter than everybody I know. Set up a whole bunch of positive resource states, and you will feel it install. It's very, very powerful and works on the body's subtle energetic system. It only takes 30 to 45 seconds.
And they can ask themselves empowering questions too. Set up your own empowering questions. How am I going to believe even more deeply in myself?
Fervently today.
Right.
Yeah.
So use the stuff we're teaching you to empower yourself.
You just got a funny one?
The follow-up question, was, or not follow-up, the M. Ballum, the question earlier, she said, positive people? England? Which I think is hilarious.
That's why I came over here last time, to get away from all that.
Mike is a Brit, in case you're wondering. He just doesn't have the accent. But he does it
I do the accent.
well.
Never lost it.
Yeah, you never lost it.
I just took on the Canadian one.
Right. Next question here. What's the main difference between self-hypnosis and guided meditation? And
Excellent
can
question.
you have bad rapport with yourself? That's from Rob.
Yes, that's a very good question.
Can you be out of rapport with yourself?
Well, we'll get to the second part in a moment. All meditation is hypnotic, insofar as all meditation causes altered states, which are typically taking you down through an alpha or theta wave in your brain. So all meditation calm you, they focus your attention internally, makes you be in the moment, or however you're doing this, saying a koan or some sort of mantra over and over, it will cause a trance. But all hypnosis is not meditation. So you have to sort of differentiate. All meditation will create a hypnotic trance, but all hypnosis isn't specifically meditation. Most people who are my clients, Erickson would have said, the great Milton Erickson, greatest hypnotist of all time, said, your clients will be your clients because they are out of rapport with their own unconscious mind. I put people back in rapport with their unconscious mind.
Great comment. And here's another slide. It says, best money I've ever spent on hypnosis training. Keep up the amazing work, from Richard in Florida. He's a hypnotherapist or hypnotist. Keep asking. Okay, let's get back to some more questions here. By the way, you should now see a link on the page that says join us now or something to that effect. Actually, I'll just read the actual words. It says join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy today.
And remember, guys, we specialize in exceptional customer service. We want this to work for you. And if it isn't working for you with all the videos and audio stuff and webinars and PDF cheat sheets for you, it's all designed to make learning easy in bite-sized chunks, all HD video designed for the web. If you don't like it, you can leave.
Yeah,
keep you there. Give you 30 days to decide.
When you join, you will love it. If for some reason you join and say to yourself, this is not going to totally transform my life, then we
don't want your money.
We do not want. Yeah. All right, let's go. Where else have we got a question from here? Oh, we got Brad, who said, last year I did some hypnosis with a 13-year-old judo student of mine. This actually isn't a question, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Okay.
Student of mine who simply couldn't perform all season due to anxiety, despite his skills being very good. That weekend after the hypnosis, he actually won the Canadian Nationals.
Nice.
The following weekend, he won the AmCan, I guess American Canadian Championship, making him the North American champion. This was all because he believed, being at the bottom of his weight class, he so-called couldn't, in quotes, win over the larger competitors.
Nice.
Once he moved past can't, out of the way, everything changed.
And honestly, guys, this happens all the time. You'll get the ability to transform people before your eyes. I sit in a plane and talk to someone beside me and intersect them and trance them out, often without their knowledge, and pour positive stuff into their lives. And to see people change is immensely gratifying.
Alex says, how do I find my true passion? My previous work no longer interests me. Now, I like how he's framed it as previous work.
Yeah.
Now, whether that means you got laid off from a job or it was a contract and the contract ended, I don't know. Or whether you're in your mind, you're framing it as over. And that's the first step, dude. So how do you find your true passion? Ask yourself what you want. What do you enjoy doing? Ask yourself, when is the last time that you felt in an incredible state? What were you doing? That'll probably give you a hint as to what you really enjoy. If I could, if I could spend 80% of my time doing only 20% of the activities that I have been doing, what would those activities be?
Right. And I like the magic wand technique. If I could wave a magic wand right now and give you an absolutely perfect day, what would it consist of? What would it be? What's your
That's the as
that'll
if
tell
frame.
You what your
use of the as if frame right there.
Yeah.
So this is awesome. Mags says this was brilliant. Frank says, would the as-if frame work with people who've had long-standing difficulties such as anorexia? Of course.
Yeah, with eating disorders, there's always other things that have to be dealt with. There's often chronic disappointment, and there's often rejection, and those things have to be dealt with at a deeper level. But generally speaking, if you get involved in an NLP or hypnosis or CBT model, you can change people's behavior so radically that a lot of stuff disappears. John Grinder, the great NLP co-founder, said you can get rid of a lot of problems by simply piling enough positive stuff on top of them.
Right.
And that's very much the case in my own life too.
We have Jack is from Cork, Ireland as well, and
Nice.
Frank, which is so cool. And Mags is from Scotland. Thank you very much. That's fantastic.
We got Delta Scott there.
Alex is
I'm
from
1-8
Toronto.
Scott.
Locally, Alex is from Toronto. Lisa, with all your training, would it provide any formal? This is a really good question. This comes up.
I will let you answer this
Okay.
one, Christopher.
Does our online training provide formal qualifications? Here's the answer. It could, but we think that's a complete waste of time because the hypnosis field is generally unregulated, or where there is regulation, that regulation is totally different around the world. So what we do is act as educators. This is the best educational tool you have access to right here. I didn't mean to call you a tool.
Thanks,
That's
buddy.
hilarious.
It's hilarious to you, yeah.
So what some people do is they will offer you an online certification.
Which will be for their company.
Right. So they'll have a training company and they'll have a certifying company, and they're both owned by them. And so they certify you without having, how do you test somebody from online training? I mean, we can't really test you. I suppose we could implement some sort of testing, and somebody has, a guy in Germany actually sent us some great ideas.
An hour on Skype and we have a discussion. And
we're thinking about how we can handle this. We don't feel that giving you a certification adds any value. And what we will also tell you, what I tell you right now, most clients will not care or understand the whole certification field in this industry anyway. You're a hypnotist. When you study hypnosis and you get good at it, you're a hypnotist. We would not recommend using the term hypnotherapist.
yeah, these are things that are regulated. But
in
we're
many places.
educators, and we take people with no previous experience, and we take hypnosis trainers from other organizations and turn them into better hypnotists. That's what we do.
And I tell you, we have no interest in going through all the hoops that might be required to give you some, just to be able to hand you some
certificate.
paper,
No.
which might, let's say, cost us a bunch more money to do, which means we have to jack up the price of the course. We just want to give you great information to help you make amazing changes to your life and the life of others who are around you.
Well put, Chris.
That's right. So that's your answer. Kim says, I can personally...
time for just a couple more.
Yes, Kim says, I can personally testify that all of Mike's training is incredible. I've studied with Mike for the past 4 years, and I personally recommend learning with him. The Academy is incredible. I still use many resources that are there. As do I, Kim. Thank you. That's an awesome comment. Is focusing on the past counterintuitive for growing and becoming empowered in the present, or do you think there are a few times when it is useful to focus on the past?
The test of any model is the usefulness, right? No models are true, but some of them are useful. Most of the time when I work with a client, whether it is coaching or whatever, helping them get to the next level in their job, I like doing generative change, which is taking things that are good, sports people and so on, and making them even better at what they do. Then there's also remedial change where I'm fixing problems for people or teaching them how to fix them. I'm primarily an educator. I can get into their unconscious mind, make friends with their unconscious, and show them how to do this. Most of the time, I remember most is only 51%. Most of the time, I'll pile in the resources, the positive stuff, and get people moving generatively into new behaviors. Sometimes I'll have to get into the past and extract rotten teeth and things like that, metaphorically speaking, in order to move them forward. And Chris knows I had an exceptionally interesting case just yesterday in that regard. I was telling him I had a client, we had to work in the past quite a bit to clear up some issues. But most of the time, you don't have to go to the past for the answers, which is the hallmark of things like positive EFT and so on. You build in the resources instead and see what happens.
Quite often, as I've learned from Mike, you will have to go back into the past to clean something up, but I wouldn't call it focusing on the past.
Might give them an alternate event. So if something happened, we can remove that event, write a new one, and drop it in that slot and have it echo right up to the present into the future. As Richard Mandel so brilliantly put it, it is never too late to have a happy childhood.
In the last 2 weeks, I've dealt with 2 clients, both dealing with anxiety for speaking in front of large audiences. And in both cases, we had to go back into the past, clean up a trauma, and then move forward.
And then you'd be building the resources for the future. Yeah, really depends. But the answers aren't always there. Typically, I think it's better to work in the moment to ensure we fix things for the future.
And I see that Nadine has a comment for our friend Alex, and she says, I used to be in where's her comment? She says, I just saw it.
Sorry, we'll edit this out.
She says, I switched from engineering to entertainment because I always smiled listening to music and watching movies. So that's a great answer that doubles back on what we were just talking about, which is, well, how do you know what you love? What's your passion? Well, what makes you smile?
Yeah.
I mean, smiling is awesome, right?
I mean, seriously, guys, I had some horrible jobs before I got into hypnosis. I had $1 an hour job at a burger joint. It was just horrible. And I recreated my life numerous times. And if life isn't fun, what the heck is the point?
Yeah.
The brilliant author Dorothy Parker said, life is bloody well bad enough without being miserable on top of it. You know, have some fun.
Frank O'Donovan, thank you for your comment saying, I've done the full gamut of NLP training and coaching, and Mike's training is enhancing my skills to no end.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Frank.
Really awesome. That's why we did that. This is why I spent so much time convincing this guy to put the entire training online.
I didn't want to do it.
It's grueling. We'd spend like 5 days doing the live training.
Man.
And it would be easy to hire a film crew, right? And stick them at the back of the room
and just
record it and send you a box of DVDs, and then we don't have to, like as if it's a hassle. Right. Because other people do this. They'll film
their own training.
And just ship you a box of obsolete DVDs. I mean, I don't even think I have a DVD player hooked up in this house anymore.
So what did we do instead, Chris?
We reshot everything in bite-sized chunks. Like, we're talking videos all shot in fact, most of them are shot in front of a white screen, not our chalkboard here. But it's a beautiful white screen, whiteboard type layout. And they're all bite-sized chunks.
And then there's live demos and all
5 to 8 minutes of video typically. Yep. Like the chunks are 5 to 8 videos. There'd be like 8 to 10 videos in the average lesson. And it's incredible. I mean, it took us almost 2 years.
Yes.
And no one's going to catch up because our content is better and
we have it
well managed.
Stored, both edited and unedited, in 3 different locations. We're so paranoid.
Multiple terabytes.
The amount of work,
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for the answer. You guys are great. That's awesome. Okay, so I don't know if we have any more questions.
I think we should wrap it up, Chris, but let me just say in close,
yeah.
We honestly believe in what we do, guys. That's why we offer these spectacular guarantees, and we have the live monthly webinars to keep in touch with our students. Like you said, we don't ship you a box of discs and then disappear. We want to be involved with you and for you. We answer the questions online within 24 to 48 hours, almost always. And we think we have the best training out there. No one lives very long in my family. I can't say no one because I've lived longer than most of them. But a number of years ago, I realized—
Don't put that in past tense.
A number of, my parents died young. My wife's parents died young. And a number of people said to me, you put so much of your time into hypnosis. It's time to get it out there. Well, there's still time. And I'm healthy, I'm happy, but I'm putting it in the hands of people like him and people like the students in our academy and our friends. We want all the years of getting this stuff together put out there for you, because you can change people's lives and have a blast.
We have a blast doing this stuff. We want people who are going to be like-minded in the academy, having a blast with us. You'll see a lot of people here in the academy on this webinar. We're going to do awesome stuff together. We're here for you every single month. We do these live
and
webinars.
You'll learn to do magic.
Yeah, quite. We do. It's
real magic.
It's phenomenal. So the button is there, but if for some reason the button's not working, I'll just give you the link. It is MikeMandelHypnosis.com/academy, lowercase. And I guess I could put that in the chat room, but it's probably not necessary. So MikeMandelHypnosis.com/academy, and that's where you can get all the information that you need. Join us online. We do monthly webinars with you. You'll learn awesome bite-sized chunks. Check out—
nothing to lose. The risk is on us.
And there's one more thing I'll mention before we go. So I was going to say, check out MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You'll see a listing of all the products that we sell every day digitally online, and those are all included in the academy. And there's an explanation on the sales page for the academy as to how they get dripped out if you choose the monthly. If you choose the all access pass, you get everything.
And it's all real easy. It's real easy to use. Nothing complicated.
Super. Yeah. I just love the membership site. The guys who created that, it's brilliant. So the other thing I want to mention before closing out here is we recently completed a project where Mike took his brain software ebook, and we created about, I think it's about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, over an hour
of high quality HD video that supplements the ebook. Now the ebook is free, so if you don't have it yet, go to our website, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You're going to see an opt-in form, and you can download the ebook, and it's totally free. All you need to do is put
It's
in
the
your
same
email
stuff I teach corporations, the kind of stuff we're talking about today.
thousands
That
of
they
dollars.
pay thousands of dollars for an hour of my time.
Right. And then I haven't put the e-commerce hookup to all this yet, so I don't have a way to offer it to you, but I will send out a link in the next couple of weeks or so. We're going to be making available the video upgrades. So basically you get the ebook free, and then you can get the supplemental videos to go along with it, which is amazing content. And we put it inside the membership site as well. And we're going to sell it for like $7. It's amazing content. The whole idea is it's so cheap, but it gets you started being a customer of ours. It gets you down the road to awesomeness, and
But we admit it, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's right. It's a marketing ploy. But anyway, I think it's a great one because it will help a lot of people. That's really all I had to say. So join the Academy, get the ebook, MikeMandelHypnosis.com, sign up for the free ebook at the very minimum because you will love it.
Thank you, Chris. And even if you don't join the Academy,
we wish you the best.
We wish you the best. Learn the stuff from this video, apply some of it in your life, and get out there and change things for yourself and other people. It really works, guys. So thanks a lot. And
good night.